Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, the 11th of June today. Welcome to our Key Stage 1 narratives for Years 1 and 2. All right, we've been working jolly hard, haven't we, everybody? Yesterday and the day before, we started to write the chunks for our chunks of film. So we wrote a few sentences for plot point 1, dinner time, plot point 2, first wave, okay? So today, as you can imagine, we're going to be writing some sentences for plot point 3, which is called petrified. We'll come back to that in a moment. Do you know what that word means? Petrified? Pause the video, have a little think. Right, so petrified, it means extremely scared, okay? So, or let's think of an example. Spiders, I don't mind, they're okay. I wouldn't say I'm petrified of spiders. I'd say perhaps they make me a little bit nervous, but not petrified. Whereas snakes, yes, I would say that's accurate. They make me absolutely petrified. I feel petrified around snakes. Okay, so there you go. That's that word, petrified. Very, very scared indeed. And that's how Piper is feeling in this next chunk, or at least the beginning of the chunk. So this chunk is from 1 minute and 6 seconds to 1 minute 19 seconds. So not very long, just over 10 seconds this chunk. And if you want to have another look at that chunk now, that might be a good idea. All right, everybody, so our writing challenges for this chunk. We've got 2 challenges we're going to try and meet today when we write our sentences and we stack them together. So the first challenge is this, interesting synonyms. Okay, so, oh, children, do you know the amount of times I hear or I read, it is sad, he is happy, it was bad. So some really sort of boring word choices. And what I want today is some really interesting ones, okay? Some interesting synonyms. And number 2, the other writing challenge we're going to be getting on with is short sentences. So it's not often I ask you to do this. Normally I'm telling you, aren't I, to elongate your sentences, to make them even longer with some conjunctions. What do you want, Miss Parsons? So really what we want today is a variety of sentences. So some longer sentences, but some short sentences can have a really big impact. That means when you're reading them, they can be really striking and they can really help to create a picture. And remember, that's really what we're trying to do when we're retelling the story of Piper, isn't it? Okay, so let's have a look. I'm going to first have a look at this first one. Interesting synonyms. Okay, so I've chosen the word scared because that is how Piper is feeling in this clip. He's feeling scared. But we don't want to say Piper was scared, okay? Or at least I don't want to say it multiple times, it gets a bit boring. So I've got a few synonyms for scared down here and we're going to rate them on my thermometer. So down here, we're going to put all the words that are sort of a bit scared. So starting to feel scared, but not super, super scared. And up here, we're going to go all the way up here where we're feeling the most scared. Words that mean really, really scared, okay? Now, do you remember from earlier that word petrified? So petrified is like, you know, one of the most scared feelings you can have. So petrified, I'm going to pop that right at the top. Petrified is the most scared you can be, I would say. It's a matter of opinion, but I would say petrified is very scared indeed. And down here I'm going to pop this word, anxious. You can feel very, very, very anxious, I'm sure, but anxious down here is just when you're starting to feel a little bit scared. And synonyms for anxious, I've got here nervous as well, anxious and nervous. I think nervous is a bit less than anxious actually. And I'm going to write this word perturbed. But that's quite a posh word, isn't it? And again, that means you're feeling a bit scared, but just slightly off. You know, you're not feeling petrified just yet. You're just starting to feel a little bit scared. Perturbed, anxious and nervous. Up here with petrified, I'm going to pop horrified, because that's sort of similar to petrified. That means really, really scared. I wouldn't say if something scared me a little bit, I wouldn't say it horrified me, because that would be exaggerating. So petrified, horrified, I'm going to put terrified up here as well. I think they're sort of all going towards the top end of scared, aren't they? They all mean scared. They all mean that same word scared, but those ones perhaps at the top end of scared even more so. And in the middle here, I'm going to pop these two. Well, I'm going to pop the word frightened just here. Frightened again, so you're more than anxious, but less than terrified, I would say, is frightened. And then worried, actually I was going to put that in the middle, but I think I was wrong to do that. I think I'm going to put that over here again, down here for worried, okay? They're just a little bit scared, and perhaps that word scared goes here. Okay, so do you see, children, we've built some synonyms for scared here, and we've built them in a way that shows you sort of how impactful they are, exactly what they mean. Nervous is when you feel a little bit scared. Horrified is when you feel really scared. Okay, so it's really important that we use these words carefully so that the reader knows exactly how Piper is feeling, so that they know what we mean. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to come away from that now, children, but I will be popping back to it. If you'd like to draw your own thermometer with some synonyms for scared on them and then rank them in terms of depth of feeling, then please do. That is entirely up to you. If you just like to do 1 or 2, no problem. Alright, let's get to it. So, plot point 3, petrified. I'll just pop that down so we can see it. And then we've got there our 2 writing goals for today, our 2 writing challenges. Okay, so I've started my sentence with the word Piper. Okay, so we've just left off when Piper was submerged by those noisy waves, wasn't he? He felt the waves all around him. Okay, and then in this part, in this section of the video, we see that Piper, he was just daydreaming, wasn't he? So it didn't really happen, or perhaps it was a memory and it did happen, we're not sure. Okay, but he sort of wakes up from his daydream, doesn't he? So I'm going to say Piper awoke, and you can use a different verb if you want to. Piper awoke from his daydream with a jolt. I was going to say with a start, but I've chosen jolt instead because I think it's a bit more interesting. If you wake up with a jolt, it means you sort of wake up going like this. Has that ever happened to you before? It has me. When something perhaps, oh gosh, children, it's happened to all of us, perhaps you've sort of lost concentration for a moment in class, and then Miss Parson says, oh, what do you think? And you go, oh, and you're sort of brought back to reality, aren't you? Okay, so that's what's happened to Piper here. Piper awoke from his daydream with a jolt. All right, now I want to address one of these writing challenges here. I'm going to be using some interesting synonyms, I think. So I want to say what's just happened, what he remembered or what he dreamt about. Hey, you don't need to write Piper again because I've written it just here, do you see? So I don't need to repeat that. He remembered. Oh, have I got it in? I've got me finger space. Silly what's it? He remembered how the icy wall, I might have to change this in a minute, children. He remembered how the icy, careful of that word icy, it's got a k making a s sound and a making an e sound, tricky that one. He remembered how the icy water felt against his feathers. Okay, so instead of saying he was scared, or instead of saying he was frightened, I've written he remembered how the icy water felt against his feathers. Right, now I want to address this second challenge, short sentences, because these ones are quite long. Piper awoke from his daydream with a jolt. He remembered how the icy water felt against his feathers. Okay, now I want a nice short sentence, and I want a short sentence that tells me how he was feeling. So I'm going to put he. Now, when you're scared, how does that sometimes look on your body? So like we could put he frowned. Sometimes I frown a bit when I feel scared. He cried. We could have he cried. Sometimes you feel sad when you're scared. Makes you cry a little bit. Could do. I have an idea. He shuddered. Oh, because that icy water, I bet that felt really, really cold against his feathers when he imagined it. He shuddered, kind of makes you go, ugh. Do you know that feeling? He shuddered. And then, children, I can go tick, and I can tick off, if I find the right pen, I can tick off that short sentences, oh dear, that short sentences writing challenge there, because I've done that. Excellent. with that short sentence. He shuddered. Wonderful. Okay, let's go to the next one. Interesting synonyms. And let's begin our next sentence with some interesting synonyms, shall we? Okay, so he shuddered. Excellent. So I'm going to start this sentence with those interesting feelings words. I'm going to write afraid, I think. Afraid, because he was feeling afraid. Oh, do you know what? I don't think we put afraid on that thermometer, did we? Afraid. Where do you think, let's put it down here. Where do you think afraid falls on the thermometer? It's more than worried, isn't it? But it's not quite like petrified. Maybe afraid is over here with frightened. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. He was feeling quite afraid. I don't want to use petrified because that's been used already to title this chunk. Terrified? Could use terrified. Afraid, terrified. What do you think? Afraid, terrified. I think I'm going to go for afraid. That's what I first went to. Afraid and, oh, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write afraid and alone. I quite like those because I've got two words there to describe how he was feeling. Neither of them are boring, like scared. Afraid and alone. And then alone tells you not only how he was feeling, but also that nobody else was there. And I love as well that afraid and alone, they both start with the same letter. They both start with an A, so there's some quite nice sounds in there. Afraid and alone. Okay, afraid and alone. And then the next thing that happens is Piper hears his tummy rumbling, doesn't he? Piper's tummy is really quite funny in the video because you see his tummy sort of wobble from side to side, and that's sometimes how it feels when our tummy rumbles, isn't it? Why is his tummy rumbling, children? That's right, it's because he was feeling really hungry. So it's sort of a turning point in the film. It's time for Piper to take action, isn't it? He's afraid and alone, but his tummy's rumbling. He's got to do something about this, isn't he? If he's on his own, you know, it's time for change, Piper. So afraid and alone, Piper. So I could just put here Piper's tummy rumbled. Okay. I'm going to, but I want to give some interesting synonyms here. So instead of Piper's tummy rumbled, I'm going to put here, let's have a look. Afraid and alone, Piper heard his tummy give a loud rumble. I think my tummy rumbled just writing that. Afraid and alone, Piper heard his tummy give a loud rumble. Okay. And you might want to add to that shook from side to side or something like that. Okay. So yours won't look exactly the same as mine, children, but it'll be similar. Okay. It'll be the same plot point, the same chunk of footage, except you'll be using some different words to describe what's happening. Okay. Again, if you want to steal some of my ideas, if you want to steal my sentence starter, Piper awoke from his daydream, then do. If you want to steal alone and afraid, that's fine, but then make sure you change the rest of the sentence. Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's read what we've written today, everybody. Let's just tick off those interesting synonyms as well, because I feel like I've got those too. Wonderful. All right, Piper awoke from his daydream with a jolt. He remembered how the icy water felt against his feathers. He shuddered. Afraid and alone, Piper heard his tummy give a loud rumble. Okay. I'm really pleased with that, children. I think I've addressed both of our writing points for today, both of our writing challenges. I'm sure that if I worked a bit harder on it, I'm sure there are some things that I could change. For example, his something feathers, I could describe those feathers a little bit better. His tummy, maybe his feathery tummy, or his I don't know, his round tummy perhaps. There we go. Okay, I'll have a think about it, children. Jolly well done today. Make sure that you upload your writing task to Class Dojo so that Miss Lyons and I can have a read. I'll really look forward to reading those, everybody. And remember to go through and check that you've addressed the 2 writing challenges. That's the most important thing. Okay? Wonderful. Well done, everybody. Great effort today. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.